it's Master Armenians Motorsports here with you. 2023, whole new year. A lot of things have been happening. We had a lot going on. Our big thing right now for myself is recovering from ACL meniscus surgery. And so I had like 3 surgeries done in one. So who would have known? Anyways, dealing with that for like 9 years. But moving forward now, so I'm able to get around a little bit better. Some more mobility. So now we're on to 2023, full steam. So, can't wait to help out with some things. So a big thing that we have a lot of that people ask for on a normal is the clutch. What do I do with my clutch? What's the best setup I could use? What is this? What is that? And honestly, a big problem that I do come across is that when you say, hey, it's this much to do a full performance clutch, people shy away from that. Okay, I get that. Understandable. So, it's just, you want a full performance clutch. What, a pro setup is, well, it's not cheap. There's no way around it. So, there is happy mediocres though too. There is happy mediums, okay? And I got some solutions that help out. I literally ran out of examples, but I could show them to you, explain them to you, put some part numbers, and that way to get a better gist of it. Because I go through them that much, that quick. So our biggest thing is, what's the biggest fault on that new YFZ 450R? And there's no way around it. It is, that clutch basket is horrible. Depending a lot on the rider. And a clutch isn't a forever product. I've had somebody say, I've had this thing since 14 and it grenaded it. Then went my motor. Well, it's 14 and I don't know, it's almost a 9-year-old basket. So let's get with the times. A clutch is something you have to service on a regular. So just like how you service your fibers, you actually have to inspect that clutch system periodically. That is a thing that a lot of people forget about. There is a lot of things happening in the clutch. The clutch is an intricate component that literally, it actually has basically 2 halves that rotate or move. Okay, the clutch takes the shock. The clutch basket takes the shock from the user engagement and also the terrain. So the clutch is the buffer in between basically the crank and the transmission. Without that clutch basket, the way it's designed, without it being the way it is, you'd be snapping input shafts, transmissions in half, counter shafts, the list goes on, cranks, good stuff, So it'd be a lot worse. But it's an intricate component you need to periodically check. I always try to recommend, at least for it to be checked every time you need fibers. You need fibers, you need to check your basket. That's the honest truth. And your other components too, like your pressure plate, your inner hub, your springs. Like I don't do a head without doing springs. As example, new head, new valves, new springs. Why? Or after reporting, why are we doing springs? My springs are okay. Well, now they're like, brand new with a few hours on them. We need to put springs. Why? So those valves are closing quickly. It's closing against the head. Same thing with the clutch. If those springs are not inner hub, biting down on the fibers and then pulling the rest of the pack through and making a good connection, you're just wasting power. You're losing power. It doesn't matter what clutch it is. Another big thing, get all the time, my lever's a little loose. So a customer likes to tighten the little wheel right there at the top of the lever. Okay, yeah, it's not loose no more. The inherent danger of that though is now, especially when it gets hot, components expand, so it's hot. Now you're inadvertently burning the clutch. You actually have to have a little bit of lever slack. That is appropriate. Check your manual on it. That is appropriate though. It doesn't matter what clutch it is. That way when you release the lever, it's fully engaged. If the lever has a little itty bitty teeny tension, I promise you that is pushing the plunger against the front hub. And it's slightly opening the clutch pack. So you don't have as much pressure contact. Okay, so those are some really important things to consider and to think about. All right, so why does Yamaha use this? I don't, always know all the answers. Wish I did sometimes, but maybe manufacturing. But then again, too, they've used this clutch basket, okay? Basically the general clutch basket in the Carb YFZ forever. I don't know, since 04. And also in the Raptor 700. So why is it there's such a problem with it on the YFZ 450R? A big problem is in manufacturing, or also to operator error. And what I mean by that is if you're really the type of person that dumps the clutch a lot in between all the gears and out of every corner, you're really hurting this thing. And that could be on any clutch. Operator, but again too, if you're rough on it, it's part of why you have a clutch. So maybe you need to consider and to go into something else. 9 times out of 10, the biggest problem with these things, usually 9 times out of 10, is these rivets like to break or it develop like a little crack. Again, I got a guy, seeing a guy said, I mean, I'm talking about he had a hairline crack on that plate, and it was literally, almost a 10-year-old clutch basket. So just think for a minute here. That's pretty good. But realistically, also too, if you're competing heavily in racing, whether woods or running bigger tires, any other thing, higher horsepower, you really do need to consider increasing the capacity that this thing can hold. I mean, this works great for completely stock. In fact, this is my stocker that came off my 22 machine. It did just fine. We ran on the dyno, probably put like 50 passes on it, and nothing wrong. And I'll show you guys an easy way to check this thing. Okay, if everything looks good, how do you know that there's not a problem? Take this basket and do this. If it is completely quiet, not a single noise, that's okay. That's a good thing. It means these springs still have plenty of tension. So realistically, every time you use the clutch, this thing actually has to flex. It actually rotates a little bit in there. So it takes or absorbs some of that shock between the engine and the transmission. That's really important. So if the tires aren't moving and you clutch out, well, what's wrong? Well, you're breaking free past that point. Sometimes you have to do that. I do it. It is what it is. Sometimes that's what you have to do. As you need to. It's all the time. Expect this thing to wear or break sooner. There is a solution. All right. So there's a couple solutions. Okay. So, life is not all lost. Several solutions, at least 2 I strongly recommend, and also 2 really by application, like as far as power, tire size, gearing, several things, and also rider ability. Okay. So let's start from the front of the clutch, work our way to the basket. There it is. So here's our conventional OEM slipper clutch, right? 3 bolts, 3 cushions, 3 springs. The idea of this system, there's the judder springs. The idea of this system is, as a rider comes, you're coming into braking bumps, in a braking corner, it actually does not immediately engine brake. It actually opens the pack a little bit and then it closes it back. Okay? And that actually does equate to faster lap times, or especially like in the woods, really big tires as well. So track or motocross doesn't matter. When you're coming into a braking section, it doesn't immediately engine brake. You don't get it all of a sudden immediate deceleration. It does, but it has a little bit of a delay, which isn't a bad thing. It helps to train a novice rider to start entering, to go further into the turn, okay, to go deeper into the turn, right? Then obviously, as a rider, that way it helps the rider to, and this is proven, to get it together here, right? Get set up on the machine, okay? Anticipating the turn and then the throttle out appropriately. That way you're in control of the machine. That's the idea. Or when landing a jump, however, it doesn't immediately engine brake. It actually open up a little bit, okay? Versus the conventional, like from a car YFZ, Raptor 700, in 09 to 10, perfect, or really 09 to 13, we had 6 bolts here and 6 springs. So it would immediately engine brake. At the moment you let off the throttle, it's just instant engine braking. So this has actually proven to help riders. In fact, Henson makes a slipper clutch. General idea the same. Okay, so this isn't bad. It does eat through fibers quicker. It will burn fibers quicker because, well, there's only three springs holding it when the lever's adjusted correctly. So I've seen people go a season, no problem with these, with a stock motor with a little bit of power increases. Okay, once we start getting the more power increases or a more seasoned rider, it would be recommended to change it. And this is a good option to at least change to the 6 spring, the OEM one. It's not terribly expensive. It does a good job. Don't get me wrong. Are the parts going to last as long as billet aluminum? No, that's a fact. There's no way around it. My honest recommendation would be to use the, as an example, this is me personally, your Henson full conventional setup. Okay, I just like simple. There's no crazy things. There's nothing. Just simple 6 spring, but with billet aluminum parts. Billet aluminum is way stronger than cast aluminum, and also a lot lighter as well. And also to the coatings on them, they don't wear as bad. So if you're looking for the longevity, but that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that superior product. So there's
where the change is, you know. So you're getting several benefits: longer longevity, better longevity, lighter, and stronger. So you're getting three things over stock. That's what you're paying for. So, you know, trying to understand it, to grasp that concept. Okay. My other go-to clutch would be a Recluse manual torque drive. That's what I personally run myself. Parts are very light, very, very light, lighter than Henson's. I'm weighing them. Henson's are strong though. I mean, there's no way around. That's my second hand go-to. And a lot of people, they're like, you know, which way I go? They feel better with a conventional clutch, conventional fibers. Henson all the way, hands down. I've ridden Henson's for a long time, no problem. I do like the Recluse, the feel of the Recluse. The Recluse is a little bit different. It's almost like a high performance brake. So especially when the engine's cold, really cold, if you go to go slam it in the gear, it will want to creep off on you. It actually does better with a hot, you know, at least when the engine warmed up, the oil has been warmed up, like a high performance brake, like on a car. If you've ever driven a high performance sports car, bike, or whatever like that, the first couple of times you brake, it's a little grabby. After it gets some heat into the pads, it's really smooth. That's how the Recluse is. So the hotter the engine gets, the smoother it gets. So that's also a thing too. So if you're in for the long haul, that's something to consider. But either way, you're not going to go wrong. I could guarantee that, and also too with horsepower increases too. So if you're looking at building a motor, that's another big factor. Got a lot of people, hey, you know, I want to send my motor for builds, this and that, and oh man, why is it so much? Like, oh, we gotta do something clutch here. I mean, you just can't just drop in, you know, 55, you know, plus horses and expect it not to blow to a million pieces, because that's just throwing all your money out. Simple as that. Simple facts. So, you know, no problem with doing whatever, but it's like, these are the simple facts. These are the facts. If you don't do this, it's going to blow to a million pieces. So the clutch is a really intricate, important piece of equipment for the machine. It doesn't matter what machine it is, but especially a quad being, as you know, much heavier than a dirt bike. It's big. Even on a dirt bike, it's big. So just quick recap. Here's your stock OEM. You can go to something like this, right? All right, this is a Recluse manual torque drive system. You get a conventional Henson, works excellent as well. Or you do the OEM 09 to 10 6-spring setup. I can tell you right now, in hand, this thing, I swear it feels like it's 2 times the weight or better of this. In hand, it's heavy. There's no way around it. It's heavy. There's some things still in here, whatever. It's a big difference. So again, that's what you're paying for. So this one's a little worn. She does need some new parts, new center hub and stuff like that. So it's sticking a little bit. So it's time for some new parts. No big deal. Hey, it's a wear thing. This thing has been through some war, let me tell you right now, and still holding. It just wanted to grab a little bit too early. No problem. I could fix that. Not a problem. And I'm going to for the guy. Easy. Walk in the park. So again, this is something you check. As an example, with this, found some other things. So we'll go to some of our, like I said, some of your just even sound things to check when you're checking your baskets. Let's get to the basket. All right. So now we're getting to our baskets. Baskets, right? These are two Henson baskets, right? Let's look at it again. An OEM one. OEM Henson. Right. Bolts are a little high and scrape the inner hub a little bit. Happens occasionally, but all good. So how can you tell this basket's good? How can you tell this one's bad without turning them around? Remember what I told you here? Like this. Nothing. Check this one. You're probably thinking, okay, Matt, you're getting crazy. Check this one. Whoa, get closer to the microphone. What the heck's going on back here? We'll check it out. Okay, this is where the science, so to say, comes in. So if you open your clutch, you take all your stuff out. You take your outer pressure plate, your inner hub, you know, all your fibers, all that stuff. You're like, yeah, it looks good. You grab it from the top here. You know, you give it a shake, because you're not gonna be able to shake it that much, but you want to check to make sure. Obviously, this thing in here wears out. There is a bushing in there, and it does wear out. Maybe get a little, make sure we're zoomed in well, or at least clear on the focus. There is a bushing inside this thing. It does wear out. Okay, so no clutch is impervious. It's very hard to wear out, but you know, better you keep your oil, good quality oils, all that stuff. Big difference. Okay, so what's going on here? Let's find out. So this one, and I could tell you right now, I know this for a fact. This clutch basket has probably been in the machine about 2.5 years. Okay, before COVID hit, and this thing has had a 60 plus horsepower motor, so oh, low 60s, okay, and it's been fine since. It went to a new owner. The previous owner didn't have it. He just didn't have any more time to use it. The owner comes around, hey, let's do a fresh top end. You know, just want to make sure everything's okay. Perfect, great start of a machine. He's wanting to get his machine freshened up for racing. Great. Get on the dyno, make sure it's okay. Cool, absolutely, of course. Get on the dyno. Something just doesn't sound right. Another indicator is before you take it apart, you hear any abnormal rattles or anything like that, especially on low or putting on the, getting on the low end of the gear as an example, second, third, coming out of a corner or something like that. And the dyno is definitely, it's heavy. The rollers are heavy. There's no way around it. You will definitely hear some extra rattles coming from the side case, or when the clutch is pulled in, you're going to hear some audio cues there. So pay attention to those things. I don't go, losing it saying, oh my God, my clutch is exploded. There's always a little bit of engine tapping. There's always a little bit of ticking. That's normal. But you hear some extra, like, just, it almost sounds like something's kind of tapping on the cover, the clutch cover. This needs to be checked. Again, now this has been under a lot. So this is actually kind of an old school on the Henson, where now the newer ones, they actually have a Torx bit, Torx star. Okay. So you can actually really crank on these really good. These ones with the Allens, you really couldn't crank on them too much. I hated these things. I really hated them. So had a really good welder, dropping a nice little TIG weld there. Fantastic. Looks great. What's making the noise? The bolts, the backing plate, no cracks, no breaks. Only cracks we see here. This thing has enough giddy up yeehaw power, and I'm pretty sure it's because the other thing let go first. They actually cracked the welds. So that's pretty impressive. So this thing's got some, definiteness there. Take your finger, see if you can't move any of these springs by hand. All right, 1, 2, 3, nice and tight. Uh-oh, that one's not so tight. That's definitely a broken spring. Okay, we're gonna move over here. So these two springs, this one actually busted. There we go. It does happen. Okay, there's no way around it. But again, at that power rate, something will eventually give. Now, the Henson part of it did exactly what it's supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. You keep on running this, it starts breaking all these springs. I promise you, this thing is going to break this backing plate out. Okay, but definitely Henson's part is done great. By far superior. I guarantee you, if it would have been this guy, it would have cost you an engine. Okay, so honest truth, this is a great clutch. You have to maintain these things. If you don't, there's going to be a problem. Now, preferably before you see this, preferably before your inner hub is, eating away, because this, I can tell you, the previous owner would launch this thing really hard, really hard. So this is going to happen eventually. I mean, you can only do it so many times. Things are going to have to break. You have to take care of these things, in the timely manner. They're not going to last forever. If you think so, I promise you, you're wrong. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad in your wallet. So if you take care of those things in a timely manner, it'll all come together, okay? I'll show you something different. All right, so we've already seen and heard when the basket's messed up, what we don't want to see. Again, the Henson basket, the Henson components are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they just let all the springs go to a million pieces. Don't get wrong. Enough time, it can. However, it held it together. In fact, no joke, actually made 3 passes on the dyno. I could hear it. Okay, trying to see what's going on. And pretty impressed. Of course, it wasn't out there, murdering it, but just using the dyno, keep it stationary. That way, you're not driving it around. Obviously, keep it stationary, trying to pinpoint what was going on. So, our audio cues and now visual cues, after inspecting. So, what do we got to do to make this better? Well, you can. This is probably the cheaper end of it as far as what you could do is go to a Henson, with this setup. So the Henson, It showed in the back. These things aren't sticking out. It's flat. The material's a lot heavier duty. Um, and I would recommend this if your machine is completely stock, or if you just have a little bit of motor work like Big Three, and you're not really rough on the clutch. You're not like beating the clutch. As an example, if you know how to use the clutch well, okay, evaluate yourself because you're the only one that can tell yourself that better than anyone else. I can't. So that's the honest truth on that. I'll tell you straight up, I'm gonna beat that thing straight up. So let's just get it out of the way. Don't hide it. Just be straight up. So either A, switch to the Henson, or B, the other option. Got a nice fresh one. Is to go to the 09 to 10 basket. So let's open this guy up. Let's see what's up and see what does it take to put this in, because you can buy it. Yes, it goes right on in, but there's a little bit more than just buying it. So what's the difference? Okay, the difference here in the back, and obviously you can see or how many rivets it had there as well. Okay, this one has a bunch of rivets. This is a spring setup. This was called a cushion basket. So instead of having a bunch of springs, because again, remember, this has to be a dampening device, shock absorber, basically. You can see that's what it does. It does absorb the shock. In between each of these, really, actually, in between here, there's these little round rubber circles. Okay, bunch of them. Okay, this thing's pretty tough. There's no way around. It is more expensive than just straight up just getting a Henson basket and doing it. If you know you're tough on it, go to this setup. Now I have some cushions laying around. Let me show you. And nobody's like, what do you mean a cushion basket? It has a bunch of these little things. So we have a good camera focus. Okay, we're getting the yes. Bunch of these things, okay? These things will absorb the shock wave. Okay, that's what they do. There's a bunch of these in there. These cushions, they're in here. They absorb the shock wave. All right, that's their job. Do they break? Yes, they do break. This is not a bulletproof device. This is not a bulletproof part. I've opened plenty of these and they've been crushed, smashed, whatever. It's a lot harder to do it, a lot harder, but it does happen. I can tell you right now, I can vouch, I've done it on my own machine. Okay, simple as that. I've cracked these and start seeing them breaking and just taking them off in like 3 or 4 pieces. Yeah, okay, yeah, that was messed up. So they do break. Again, the basket is something you need to check on a regular basis. Okay, there's no way around it. So if you go to this setup, so if you go with if you're using the Henson as example with your regular OEM, this to change to a Henson, you actually have to break. You actually have to break this. You would drill out all these rivets and press them out. That's what I normally do. To me, that's the easy way. Or if you don't have a press, you take it to a machine shop, send it in, however, and then you change, because you're really just changing the actual basket itself plus the backing plate and the hardware it comes with. The primary gear on any of these setups, you have to reuse the primary gear. Okay, primary gear and obviously the springs. But this plate goes in the trash and all the other stuff goes in the trash, and the basket goes to the trash. I've never seen the basket busted. Always seen it always back here. Okay, so we're looking at the price difference there. If you go to this setup, there's a couple things you got to do. All right, so several things that you need. Okay, so you can go to this setup. You can put this in. You can still use your slipper clutch. It will work in here. However, when you go to this setup, you need to change this center washer. We got a good look on that. Okay, the center washer actually holds all this guy together. It actually is supposed to make some contact there. The stock one, there's a big difference in size. I don't know if I hold all of it together. Yeah, big sizing difference. So if you put this guy in here, I promise you, this gear will work its way out. Okay, even though this is a pressed gear, this thing will work its way out, guaranteed. and it will be doing bad things you will not like. So I've had someone come in, oh man, but I have the right basket. This is still messing up. There's more parts to the puzzle there. So yes, going this route is a little more expensive. I personally think, especially if you know you're gonna be rough on it or you're gonna be horsepower. However, you know this is a much stronger setup. Even just like this, completely stock. Okay. Is it a lot heavier? Yeah, it's a lot heavier. So there's you gain strength. You're gonna lose some places here and there. Okay, no big deal. Fine, all good. But there's again, this what are these, like 350 or so, or like whatever, three something, basically out the door. By the time you start adding a couple, this, a new tab, so that you're closer to $400. You get the Henson basket out the door, because here in Florida we have tax, so it's like $285 to your door usually. So, and that's not including somebody to put it together, or acknowledge you're gonna do it yourself. Fine, no biggie. So then again, you have to break your stock basket, that guy back there, in order to do the Henson. On this setup I'm gonna do for this guy, we got a brand new one of these, a brand spanking new basket. And yes, that guy is going to get broke to go to this. Okay, we're going to do that conversion. I've done work for his other machine as well. He hasn't had a single problem. He's like, yeah, let's just go with that. Perfect, because the basket's shot anyways, the springs are shot. So we have to make a decision. Either A, we got to go back to another spring basket to get the components, or go to this. This is definitely more expensive to go, but I guarantee the service life is going to be way out the door, much better. So even though the other Henson basket that came out of it, none of the fingers have even any wear on them. So very incredible, very impressive. Again, just the springs, 2 springs in the back are broke. Okay, so again, this is a service factor. That's why you could actually take this thing apart. You actually could put it together and you can take it apart. You do have to check this thing periodically. You have to check it. If you don't check this thing, I promise you there's going to be problems. Just like anything else. Again, this is part of that routine maintenance. Okay, this one is very low maintenance because everything's riveted together. This is probably, the way this thing is stocked, is extremely low maintenance. You're not going to hear nothing. If you hear something in there rattling or a thumping in there, something's wrong inside. Most likely these bushings. I mean, I'm talking about, like, they're hard. Like, I could barely, my finger, they're hard to move. Like, I could smash it, but not like a lot. They're designed to take a lot of impact force. So if something's wrong in there, most likely you got a few of those busted. They do break. So, but that guy he's pretty heavy and stout. Again, same thing. You actually have to transfer all the parts, all the cushions, primary gear. You have to press the primary gear out when you're making to this conversion. Again, the benefits now are you're getting rid of this very heavy and not as strong, and without having the coating, without being able to handle as much wear and abuse. Obviously, you can see where they try to shave weight as possible. Again, you can't do that with this. I mean, I've seen people drill holes in it and stuff like that, and I've seen these fingers bust off. So, I mean, hey, these guys, they've been doing it for a long time. They know what's up. So, in fact, let me grab that basket and I'll show you. And just to show that I'm not cheating. See, it's that basket, but there's no indentations, there's no wear on this thing anywhere on this guy. This guy's been good. So these people, they know what's up. They know how to make some good clutch material, good clutch stuff. It's a Henson, a Recluse. They're really good. They've been really good to me for that. Always you want to check these little washers. Again, this is part of that maintenance. If these things, I'm not sure how good of a shot we'll get. I don't know if we can zoom in on it, but like on this one, we have actually like a nice nick right there. We're trying to get some burrs on it. If that thing has any burrs, any pitting, and you can just rub your finger on it, it feels like a beat up dull razor. And guys, that feels like, especially after you've been shaving for a while, and it's like a stubbly, crappy razor. It feels like that. And it's not smooth. You need to change that thing, because that's going to lead to problems. in fact, I actually try to keep those in stock. Might be running low. Even those, I mean, because I got plenty of guys that run those, no problem, just fine. Um, and it starts to get beat up, then no. But yeah, actually, in fact, even better. Let's look on the edge of this thing. This thing has taken some heat. You see, like, there's like a heat line there. We actually see like there's some material coming off this thing. So this guy, like, you can see like little metal parts coming off to the side. So this guy's taking a beating. There's no way around it. So, but also too, I mean, again, this is a high horsepower motor. A little food for thought. The carb model YFZs, you can actually use the same one from the carb model YFZ, and it is a little bit wider, more surface area. Some food for thought. This guy, I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. And I've seen these ones tore up and beat up, and I've seen some guys put so much heat on the clutch where this thing is completely black and blue. This is not the worst one I've seen, but this one's starting to get some heat dissipating. When it's doing that on this surface, then it's going to do it also on this mating surface as well. And that's going to cause some problems too. So if you're starting to get any type of pitting or anything like that happening on this surface, gotta go. Gotta go. All right, let me make sure I'm up where the camera is. This surface also too has to be correct as well. If there's any pits, burrs, or anything like that happening, chances are it's gotta go. So again, this is part of clutch maintenance. It's gonna happen. Especially, it's a recreational vehicle. You're out there using it for fun. You know, it is what it is. I've had it pitched on my own, and it was perfectly fine. And this part started to mess up, and then I started eating through some of these. Well, it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. So make sure whenever you're putting it together, fresh, clean oil. Change your oil. You might be really surprised how much material is in there. Look at the bottom of your engine when you have your side case cover off. You know, to access your clutch. Take your finger, just straight out finger, just take your finger at the bottom motor. Give it a wipe like that. That thing's full of clutch material stuck in there. That's hanging to the bottom of the engine. You need to flush the oil or clean that thing out or something. Easiest tip, I know this might sound a little wonky, but hey, it works good, is tip the motor up on it, or tip the bike up on its side with the drain plug open, the side drain plug open. After all the oil's been out of it, take a can of brake cleaner and clean that thing out as best as you can. Okay? Leave the motor open for an hour or so. That way to make sure there's no brake clean vapors. Make sure both drain plugs are open. Again, like you guys seen on my oil change videos. Also, if you have to, you know, once you put it back on the ground, lift the back of the machine up. Maybe put a jack stand under, a bucket, whatever, cooler, whatever. Get it up with the front drain plug open. Make sure there's no brake clean in there. Okay? Or the other alternative is to flush it. Get yourself a gallon of maybe some cheap oil, Yamaha Lube 1040 or whatever. It's regular. And you would be flushing that thing. So basically you would run the machine, warm it up till it's nice and hot, open the drain plugs after you shut it off, open the drain plugs and continue, you know, drain it again appropriately, drain plugs back in, filter, refill, do it again, and then do it again, and then do it one more time, because you get probably at least 2 for sure flushes out of it. Whatever you feel the most comfortable doing, until you get a lot of that trash out. And you can put brand new oil in, and you'll see, because again, if you're rolling like a bunch of dumped out clutch material or anything like that, it's definitely a problem. So, and that's what gets into your ball bearings and stuff like that, and it's no good. So, but yeah, so this guy, we're gonna go with this. Going to couple that with a inner hub, a conventional inner hub, 6-spring hub with a Henson fiber kit. So steels, fibers, and spring kit, high temp springs, and also outer pressure plate. However, so the Recluse kit normally comes everything, bolts, all that stuff. This does not. So that's also another thing. So if you're planning on going full on route, or if you're going to even consider going the full OEM, which is half the price. I mean, if you want to start with this, use your stock slipper system for a little bit, and then you want to convert then to the hub, inner hub, outer hub, and like an OEM fiber kit, no problem. Remember, you have to get several things. Again, with this one, washer. Try to be proactive as far as using a new lock washer, right? The nut goes on there, locks it. But regardless of whichever one of these two you go with, you have to also get the bolts. I strongly recommend using the OEM bolts. I'm not saying it's impossible not to snap them. Just wanted to get you guys a part number. Don't get me wrong, but that's a lot. These guys are way tougher and much more resilient than getting just some regular old, M6x1 bolts with some washer and throw it on. I'm not saying in a pinch you can't do that, but those things are much more resilient. I can't think of any failures for the last maybe 7-8 years or better from those. I could think of maybe back when I was riding an LTR, having to go the other way and snapping the heads off of an LTR or Honda or something like that. But these guys have been pretty tough. So, of course, don't go on there. Don't give it a bunch of ugga duggas with your half-inch impact either. It is supposed to be torqued down. Of course, always consult your owner's manual for torque specs, right? For your center nut, for your six bolts, all those things, etc. Always consult that, and of course, couple with a fresh gasket and an oil change. Okay, if you're over there doing those things, your likely chances of success and less failures is going to be very high. I can assure you that. Again, good rule of thumb: your fibers need to be replaced. Take this whole thing out and physically inspect it. Make sure these don't back out. I mean, you could Loctite them, you could pin the bolts heads like you're supposed to. They can still walk out a little bit. So I've seen it. I've seen it on a Recluse, Wiseco, Henson. It happens. You're supposed to periodically check these. Normally what I do, I normally, after I torque these all down, of course with Loctite, flip it around, or usually put a something solid to hold this guy, and with a punch in to flare the top of the bolt out on this side. They say you're supposed to. Give it a couple hits. Give it a couple marks too. Take a marking pen or something like that. Mark, and then that way you know for a fact. And I have had some come out, and I could literally just go like this with my finger and undo them until like, whew, there's enough Loctite. So use your Loctite correctly. Red Loctite, let it set up for a little bit, put it on there, and torque it down correctly. Okay. And then also when you do on your checks, that way you could check, because you can see the cushion is supposed to go in there. You can check your cushions. If your cushions do go bad on Henson, you can get replacement Henson cushions as well. So, all right, OEM you can't, Henson you do, but don't be afraid to look at the inside of this thing too. Get your eye in there, get your eye in also by finger, feel that thing, make sure it's not pitted up in there. I think the one where it has the busted springs is starting to get some pits in it. Yeah, so this is why this is a very good candidate. It's not as smooth. It's not the worst, but it has some pits in there. Right here on the edge there, I could feel my finger getting caught on that edge because like I showed you on the other part. Yeah, on this side too, the way it's rotating. If your finger's getting caught with a sharp edge in there, you can feel it with your finger. Just take your finger in there. I mean, I can see. I don't know if the phone could pick it up or our camera. However, whatever we use these days, our camera can pick up any pits. There is a little bit of tiny pitting in there. Let's take a picture of that and zoom in on it. And this guy definitely has taken this. This would be a really hard one, but our bushing in there is starting to get some heat in there. And I can tell you right now, I know the guy who had this thing. He wasn't afraid to let it hang out. And he's like, that's what I put it together for. He's like, that's what I put the money into it, and that's what I'm doing. So, all right. So, in conclusion, healthy clutch, happy machine, it's a happy motor. So always check your clutch. Me personally, at least at a minimum with the stock OEM clutch, I would at least personally put a basket into it. If you know you're going to be shooting for more in the future, then I would just consider just switching out directly to the 09, 010 basket, 2010 basket. Remember, you have to run the washer for it. And obviously, throw yourself a new lock washer. We'll get our part number there. Literally, as you saw, came clean out of the box. I just opened it, use that part number. Okay, you have a hard time getting it. Also, too, when this system was put together, that was in the middle of the pandemic. That's for the washer. Okay, so let's get a nice shot on the washer. when that clutch was put together, that was in the middle of the pandemic. They were literally right at the start of COVID. And you know how easy it was to get clutch baskets? Impossible. They do what we had. So a 2-year span on a 60 horsepower engine, that's pretty darn good. I know the guy who I put it together for, he had no problem, especially out of the start. Well, that thing wide open, he would let it rip. So hey, it was just fun. So you know, and exactly that. It's your fun. You're rough on it. It's gonna happen. You just have to keep inspection of it, just like regular oil change, regular maintenance. This is part of regular maintenance. So your fiber's trying to mess up, take that thing out, inspect it good. If you're not sure, hey, you can send it in. It's fine. We're pretty chilled. So, or if you want to convert, you don't have a machine shop that can press the pins out or whatever, or at least to do to convert it, regardless of whatever system it is, whether it's the multi, the cushion basket, or to go to a spring setup, and you want to send it in, I have no problem with that helping out, or your local machine shop, whatever. I do a lot of these, and I've had a lot of success on both ends. Again, or you can consult, that's fine, not a problem. Give us a call, or really a text or an email, because for calling sometimes it's really tough with our schedules. So, a text, an email, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Also know plenty of other reputable builders as well that would gladly help out as well. Okay, so all right, just finishing up. They don't tell you to do this, but this is something I do. I just mark my bolts, just be on the safe side. Quick and easy. They've already been Loctited, so cleaned, Loctited, center gear was pressed, all of our cushions were put in, following the instructions, and this guy is a good to go. So we're gonna have one really good clutch basket. Gonna pin the ends here soon. Just gonna flare the ends gently, and that's it. Just one more addition in there, and put everything together, coupled with our inner pressure, our inner hub, outer pressure plate, our fiber pack, and it's gonna look good. There's answers out there. There's hope out there. Again, keep up with your maintenance. Keep those machines healthy. Let's just go ride and have fun. So I'm looking forward to riding, hopefully here soon in the future. But I gotta take it easy because it's ACL, so I don't want to mess it up again. So, anyways, for all of you guys and girls that can ride, enjoy, live that free spirit when you're out there. So enjoy it to the best of your abilities. So, anyways, thanks for watching as always. If there's anything else, please comment below. I hope we covered that well. There's a lot. I mean, we could spend a day on this easily, but at least trying to put that together, okay? So let us know. Tell us what you think. Or if you guys have any suggestions as well for future videos, we'd be glad to take that into consideration for future upcoming videos, all right? Thanks, everybody. Ride safe.